was Wildcat Gardens around since the 90s. There's 3 of us over here, but
Your
the
guys
first
in
weekend of August,
Pine
we have it's called the Indiana Palace Rendezvous.
Yes.
40 some years.
Here,
now.
just get it out.
Well, we have a big auction.
Those are
Okay.
You're double the cost.
It benefits the
Boards,
gardens.
the lifts.
Or
It
Then you got
Wildcat Gardens,
specials.
it's a
I mean,
benefit.
Well, hell, how about I don't you guys and you make money
I
on
was to say that, or if you want to try to move it. I left the battery and the motor on it. It's my back.
We'll call the meeting to order.
Okay.
First item to review the minutes. The motion to, you want to take a look at it?
I move to approve the minutes from April 27th,
Second.
2026.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Like to welcome Mr. Fields to this environment.
Thank you all.
for coming. George? News. You're on for news.
For news?
Yep.
The only news we have really is that y'all can see what Quick Trips is up to. And there is an Arby's franchise that has leased the Speedway and is cleaning that out, and they have their building permit to get started on the interior, but I don't know, they didn't share any plans because we don't have to permit them that already had utilities, so they just have to
Interior build out.
work it out with, work it out with county.
They've been talking about that northeast corner, but they probably said, we can't wait anymore, and since that spot.
Yeah, well. I mean, you got a lease,
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah, no, that's it.
less headaches.
North side of
We got a call from Mr. Benning, who said he didn't believe the hotel was gonna be of interest at all anymore, and if they pursued something, it would be multifamily. But they don't know exactly when. I said, well, it's good timing, because you're 45 minutes from the new Bears Stadium, so go figure. Get in.
Yeah,
Is that official?
No,
I mean,
No,
like
it's not like-
75, 25, something like that.
they talk about it enough
Yeah.
eventually. I think it's like one of those last picks,
I
and
say
they
I
come
hadn't heard-
together at the last minute and
I
provide
hadn't
more.
heard it was official.
I have a hard time as a native Chicagoan.
There's gotta be a nook and a cranny you can put something in down or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, it's-
Illinois hasn't given up on
right.
finding the site. If I were betting, I would bet that Illinois will.
Right.
Still come around it with something.
What's a few more taxes to pay for
Well,
this? I mean, come on, they gotta. They gotta pay.
I don't think the history of the name and all of that is carrying sentimental weight.
I can't think of anything else that's.
This is the only other thing, huh?
You're on.
All right, well, what day was it? I sent an email, what was it? Wednesday, was it Wednesday, the 20? Yesterday afternoon, it was on June 10th. Mr. Fields, myself, and it was Eric Burns, and it was Carl, right?
Carl Horner.
Carl, yeah, we were on the phone, we were discussing. We were looked at this plan here, and then one of the discussions was, we were at the end of it was the point to where the benefit to the people in Whale Ridge was, oh, now it could be a park and town hall, something softer. And the push was, Eric says, hey, to remove all the covenants, and basically you're going back to, well, there's a requirement for a buffer yard anyway. So it would just be whatever zone would require is what they would be held to. But before he wanted to go to any of the homeowners, he says there's really two things that need to happen. Redevelopment Commission needs to say this is a good idea to proceed forward, approve generally the conceptual plan of that idea, and then to have town council do the same thing. Because at the end of the day, they were like, the town needs to talk to the owners and really see if they're actually going to pursue what is it, if they're that far apart on dollars, what that looks like. And until that comes up, Eric says, oh, we don't even want to present something to the neighbors until, because this looks nice and soft, and yes, the kids can go over there and there's walks, but they said really need to vet out the town, and if Tecumseh Land Corp can have conversations and proceed with some conceptual meeting of the minds, dollar and cents even, before reapproaching the neighbors. Is that pretty much?
That's good summary.
Yeah, so that's really what we're here to see. I mean, we have limited power on what we can do, except, yeah, it's a great idea, but it really come down to town council, right? Deciding if they want to proceed with the conversations with the Tecumseh Land Group, I mean, really, they want to talk dollars and cents. See if there's a meeting of the minds, or if not, what's the path after that? So anyway, that's the 5
And
minute.
the town council would be involved, why?
Eric said, well, they wanted both the town council and RDC to just get on board and say, this is fine, but I mean, didn't town council, they want us to approve would they have to approve the purchase of the property?
Mhm.
And so
That
that,
building particularly.
in the building too, so it was mainly just to see if conceptually both organizations would get behind that. And then that would lead to, all right, well, then they have to have negotiations and say,
So he doesn't choose to leave, he is. Released. By the town council after his section. And the council did address the concept and did agree to it, and he was not in the room when that happened.
okay, so it may have already happened with the concept that they're
So-
okay with this.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't know what it does for us, but he was like, it'd be nice if they both just said, yeah, that's
I mean,
a.
do you have recollection of that?
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, so Eric wasn't in the room, the council did receive that information from Bill or somebody. And talked about it, said, oh, we think that's a great idea, but I'm not sure there was a motion because there wasn't any specifics given to them.
Yeah,
Well, you had a committee.
We have a committee to go over where, if they're gonna build a new town hall, where it would be located.
Oh.
And
The,
the committee for what are you thinking?
they put two people in with me to talk through
Oh, okay. Who's that?
Mary Jo. Like,
Probably Chad.
Yeah.
Mary Jo, because she was the one that She lives on Bittersweet, so she has a relationship with the people there.
Sure.
So, yeah, yes, yes.
And Eric wasn't specific what motion would have to be made, but if they've already made a general, I mean, this is a detailed anything, and honestly, the acreage might be small, because usually you'll put a pond in an outlot or
There
something,
was no
so.
maps, there was no acreage, there was no design, there was just this concept of if we do this, if we do a park. It may lead to better development faster for the things that the town really need.
Yeah,
So, and they were in agreement with that.
and I think he was just pushing to see if that's a reality, is the town willing to pay money here for what acres they might need to build? Because obviously, if the town owns it,
And that's a separate question from the park. Would you support and put money and invest in a park on land there? And the answer to that is yes. I'm not sure. The question of how much per acre for a town hall, I mean, they favor putting a town hall there, and it looked like it might work out to everybody's advantage, but they do have other options for town hall. It's maybe not as attractive to them, but
yeah, and like I said, Eric at that time, he was like, well, I have my Tecumseh hat on, not the town hat. And so he was talking from that space, not what we would have to do. And I mean, if there's not a dollar and cents discussion, and the question is, what do we show there? Because I think that's still gonna be permanent in their minds, what they could possibly look at. And so I think he was trying to vet that out just so that they didn't see this and go, oh, that we're gonna get rid of the covenants, and then that doesn't show up. So, but Eric was really trying to get it so that all the covenants went away, but I still think the berm and that concept would soften any type of look. He just didn't want to, and he said, not putting like this as a restaurants and stuff like that, because people will say, well, we don't want this, and then they start adding exceptions to what they don't want. And so Eric was like, let's just remove those. They can kind of make their concept what could go there, and then they won't put any exceptions. And then and it's a non-committal, like it has to be like this. I might as just throw in some cool looking park features over there. So
Didn't we also hear from the small sample of Quail Ridge a couple of months ago that they wanted to be able to see the skyline and only a one-story structure? Is that gonna make any difference with town hall, that it's single story?
I think when we were also in our meeting, we talked about that. Because if you say one story, what is one story?
Yeah.
You one story could be like,
12 or
it could be a
18 feet.
12 or 18 one-story
Yeah,
building.
That's true.
If it's a retail. space,
Yeah,
that's-
but it's still considered one story.
Mhm.
And then he goes, yeah, we don't know if we want to split that hair either.
Mhm.
So it was just more of a. And like I said, if I know Wendy has heard, town hall, people still want it, some people still want it down and.
If it had been built out into housing, even in one-story building with a roof line is gonna be, to that point, and if there's a two-story, then you're even.
Yeah.
Higher than what would probably ever happen there commercially at the very back.
Yeah, you can put a real steep roof on something that look like two-story.
Roof pitch versus flat, yes.
So. That was really what the discussions were about. He just I think he was just saying, well, if town's really serious about this, then town and Tecumseh group has to have some discussions sooner than later about it. Or make a decision whether, what's the likelihood of that happening here. And if not, then I don't know. Because we know Quail Ridge is gonna want to see something less commercial looking, I guess.
But your pond fixes their drainage probably.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, it's
You got one of these,
it's just the same thing.
put one over there.
Oh. There you go. I gave Eric
you've already observed.
I have seen that.
I gave Eric a couple sentences of verbiage that generally cover the willingness, what I think is a fair on both sides, like. If there's an area that makes sense to. You know, it was a positive improvement of drainage, so where the Tecumseh group can help out. Because when you look down there, there's a pretty good swale through there. But when you look down there, there's
Right through here, right?
on the Quail Ridge side.
Okay, got it.
And then when you look, there's a shed in the middle of the swale. And then there's a couple lots that have
Trees.
they're blocking. So it's some of it's self-induced. But we didn't focus on that because then someone there is blocking it. But it's like just a general statement that says if there's a way to handle their water, that's because I mean you can't if you got a ditch, you can't drop it 8 feet and dig a 15-foot channel to take care of their water. So, but the general statement was in places that they could help out, they would, mainly down by their pond where it would cross their, go to the west. That's where the biggest help would be. But it wasn't a detailed committal, but it was just the verbiage was very lawyerous to say. But fair. So I mean, going forward, I guess the main thing is what, if town hall and park isn't there and then I show something, then the question is, restricting that area to 1, that's another restriction. Like I said, I try to slide it as far towards 600 as possible, even though it would have very minimal impact if those 2 ponds are gonna help out with drainage, but also line of sight's gonna be pretty open for a lot of them, so.
Yeah, I feel confident that the town council supports the park. We didn't talk about them purchasing the land though.
And I think that's what Eric was pushing on, because, I think it's,
They would put the money in it to develop it. But we didn't really talk about them purchasing.
Steve, do you know, is there any type of a tax advantage for Tecumseh? If the land was not necessarily totally donated, but put at a much more reasonable price. But yet a government entity is wanting to, obviously put a structure on that. I don't know if there's a way, if the park area would be different where that would make it reasonable for the town to be able to purchase the land and give them a tax advantage, which would be helpful to them, because otherwise they're just giving it to the government.
That's an accounting question I've asked them to explore.
I mean, that to me seems like something we ought to look at. If there's a way to leverage that, I mean, if we were a nonprofit, obviously, but that's not the case, but.
I hesitate to speak for them, but I've heard the phrase. We can't or won't donate it. Now,
Yeah,
to your point, I said, well, let's explore some other avenues. And that, I believe they're still handling the estates of some of the shareholders that
no, I
have passed away, so there are complications, other layers of complications of their tax situation with the estates as well. But I would think stressed, let's explore those. That's not my field of doing, but yes. And the time element too, if they were to get on board with this. And we all go down the pathway of the city hall and some part there, and let's say settle that with Quail Ridge, then the finish line for selling the property moves up if we resolve the issue that we're talking about, in my opinion, to have a developer come in, because we've had developers throw up their arms when they found out about the Quail Ridge agreement, or just in general, a lot of complications, multiple shareholders of ownership, Quail Ridge restrictions. Where do we get, how do we get utilities? What's going across the street? The traffic signal timing to a developer, those are, and then very, you might say, impatient developers can be when they have other sites around the state to explore. Because, shall we say, when people outside Indiana or other people outside So, wait a minute. 53 acres at interstate interchange near a nice historical town and battlefield in the park. And it's the closest exit to Purdue University. Why hasn't that developed? And I've been asked that multiple times, and the short answer is it's complicated. What can we do for you? So I didn't mean to ramble on.
No, it's
Well-
helpful.
And I think what you said is perfectly right. The word of a donation sounds like I'm just giving land away, but the truth is that we know that Quail Ridge says we do nothing. Then
We're still in the stall stage. Yes.
How many acres is this proposed in terms of the park,
Well,
and would
I
the
went-
ponds be part of that, or
I
is
think
that?
it's 5.1.
I said 5.1, but I just wanted to kind of get acres because the pond would typically be on an outlaw. I mean, it's not maintenance by an individual.
Would that normally be absorbed by the developer?
Normally, and to add, but try not to further complicate it, to develop all of this, or even in segments, it needs a master drainage program.
Right.
Design, engineering design, rooftop and asphalt, the max. You know, that would be there is 80-20, 80% rooftop and asphalt and 20% green space. You calculate the 100-year rainfall or whatever metric they use now, that's a lot of water. And so rather than, even though I like this, it doesn't, and there's no way to do it, I'm not being critical, I'm just being observant. The master plan to drain all of this actually done in harmony with. I mean, this is another complication, back to what I was talking about for a developer. To say, well, where are we gonna put the water? Detention, how deep, how, and I'm not an engineer, this is beyond mine. But that's the biggest question I get. After we say, we'll try to uncomplicate it for you, they'll say, well, if anybody design where all the water is going to be kept and then metered off the site, because that's a lot of water.
I mean, these two ponds will be, I mean, they're limited in size, they
Mhm.
take up the whole site, and so when each person comes in, it depends. Do you have, like you said, how much impervious do you have? They might have to do underground detention with aqua swirls because they gotta clean the water and all that,
Mhm.
so. And it depends, if someone develops a big chunk of it, I mean, there might need to be a little pond here to take care of, so, I mean, there are a lot of. But as far as the overall master drainage plan, you know, those two ponds are roughly in the right place, but.
I'm just trying to rewind because I understand what you're saying about the drainage part, but I'm just trying to get my head around if we're talking about potential donation, whatever you want to call it. What's the desired cost per acre right now?
Well,
Ballpark.
it's listed for sale at $100,000 an acre. I don't think I'm speaking out of term when we did have it sold until it was discovered. We had a contract, and that was in about the $75,000 an acre range.
All right, times 5 is what we're talking about in terms of the value of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Could be someone, not necessarily me, someone might argue that different areas of this is worth more per acre, the
Sure.
frontage and visibility. Where that is, you could make a point that it's not the full visible retail land.
Right.
And I don't want to speak out of term, but you could take the position that having that in place, the town hall there at a number and drainage program would enhance the value of the rest of it. So there might be, shall I say, some price offset on how much that
Right.
could be, which may be another pathway toward some contribution.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and particularly if some of their drainage could be included in that, they
Mhm.
eliminated that from
Mhm.
part of their possible income
cost.
area.
And then raising the other end of it.
Mhm. So yes, if you enhance and solve an issue on part of it, could make other pieces of it worth more. Right. But that's the other challenge. It's also my understanding that the ownership group prefers to sell it all as one, not that they wouldn't do this 5 acre program, but the balance of it, they prefer to sell it in one developer, and that's where developers see how complicated it is. We've had people want to buy 10, 20, 30 acres and that hasn't been something I've been assigned to do, is cut it in pieces. Because that would still take a master plan on drainage.
It'd be easier because it's just one, would be one large
Oh, no question.
side. I mean, yeah, cutting it up like this has its complications. Cause each
Mhm.
one's like its
But it
own
is-
little envelope of.
But between serving the local community, which certainly has grown and the demand has grown, and combining with it still an interstate interchange, the uses that would be desirable there have changed with the balance getting bigger for local. Can make that position anyway, that local uses now could take up more space than just the typical interstate hotel, fast food, et cetera. So the mixed use is still very much up in the air on what uses could go there. Depends on how many, if any, hotels go on the west side of 43. That might affect how many hotel would fit on, go on this site, not necessarily fit what else is going on, because, you know, we all know in this room, the major intersection closest to Purdue, et cetera, I think I've already said. And yet, it doesn't have a lot of the amenities and services for both local and the traveler.
The amount of traffic going north, to me, I mean. How a major pharmacy, you
Mhm.
know. Type of, you know,
Yeah,
convenient, larger, maybe at a small Target, or I don't know, but just something. I think they do it.
That's what I meant by the more of a local, some of it being a local service.
Well, the
Retail.
gentleman that owns the liquor store, I mean, I think he was gonna, you know, take a third of that building and put, you know, food or pizza in the end, and in the end.
He's filled the whole
Then he
thing.
hit a home run.
So,
It's like, let's just keep, well, look at it.
I
That's
mean,
all.
it's, you know, it's just a ton of traffic going north
Mhm.
and up to the lakes.
Well, there's been more development up in that corner in the last 5 years than there has been in the last 30 though. So all of a sudden, there's a little bit of interest, so.
Sure.
How motivated are they? And forgive me, because I know I've only been in one other meeting with you before, but. I know it's a very loaded, difficult question, just in general terms.
Well, there's a variety of opinions and I can speak for them. There's some that want to hold on and max out
Sure.
what they can do, and then there's the other end of the spectrum that still wants to max out, but let's get going on this.
Right.
Get it
Yeah.
before you're too old to enjoy it.
Yes, but they, as many landowners that have come down through the family, they're not developers per se, and they don't necessarily want to spend money on plans.
Right.
But are they gonna see this recording? I presume, that's why I get a little hesitant
Understood.
to speak for them, because I don't speak for all.
They'd have to figure out how to get there.
Okay, why, I don't, because there isn't always a consensus of opinion among these, was a. Since the multiple ownership, there isn't always a consensus, so. I don't have, other than get it sold fields, I don't have. You know, specific instructions
Sure.
on a few things, but they. Tend to have different viewpoints on what I said about timing and. Now, I do know that they don't want to put any money into it, which. You could argue. They did a drainage plan, or if they funded some of this, it might benefit everyone. But. Prefer not to. And that's, again, down that avenue of, we can't afford to donate this, we don't have any. Well. There could be some arrangements by tax planning as well as, again, probably I repeat myself far too often, I'm told, but that area, whether discounted or donated, could enhance the value of the rest of the building.
It's gonna be the key to selling, I think, because of the fact of that, I mean, if no one does anything. That covenant stays for forever.
And-
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and they just.
And the sale price is zero.
Yeah, absolutely, without altering, amending, or eliminating the covenant with Quail Ridge.
Yeah.
The 22 to 25 acres affected by that. Are worth. Around half of what the market value of the other land is worth. Now, the flip side, which I've also talked to them about, if they let that restrictions stay in place and sold it at that other level, the balance of the land could be worth more per acre because it's a smaller chunk for the developer, but I'd have to agree with, you try to reach a resolution with Quail Ridge that benefits everyone from the town having a town hall and open park for residents there and enhances the uses that go on there on a quicker timetable and maxes the value of it. So yes, everyone could benefit from the town moving town hall and part of it, Park Lake. Yes.
You could almost remove everything off this drawing and keep that, and that would, I think, suffice the neighbors.
Well, roughly speaking, the northern of 53 acres, the northern 30 is highway business, neighborhood business with the restriction in place that affects most of it. Then the southern 23 acres are zone highway business, which lends itself to most of the uses you might expect to retail and hotels and all of that. So the restriction doesn't affect the entire site, but it does as a single project, it affects the entire site, but on a map, only 22 to 23 acres immediately adjacent to Quail Ridge. Is that right? Isn't that right, Tom?
Yeah, it's basically everything over to the state police post.
Half of the whole.
Yeah. So there really may not be much for us. Really,
Well, this could sound crazy, but is there any pieces of land that Battlegrounds could trade out for this?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just asking.
No, that's a good idea.
Well, and I started wondering what the 20 acres is worth per acre with the covenant on it.
Well, the area that's supposed or originally zoned neighborhood business and now affected by the amendment or 94 agreement. If it were restricted to residential development, single family, well, roughly speaking, that market value is $30,000 to $35,000 per acre, depending on a few other costs, but market wise, without any real restrictions to do anything, the balance of this is worth, as we've said, twice that. And so, and possibly more if you were to, so the family says they don't want to do that.
700,000 with no utilities and no road, and 35,000 an acre without that road to get there.
Yes, and it's raw form, that's between 30 and 35,000 an acre. Would get the attention of, and I know because we talked to them about housing developers and would jump on this, but
Could this be divided off into
Because, well,
residential?
they can't do single
Huge.
family because it's not zoned.
is
Is it? Oh,
Yeah,
it-
Right, they'd have to go through the
Yeah,
process, but
I've looked at
it's a-
topos and I tried
it's
to.
pretty up and down.
they'd have to go through the process to rezone it or do a PD in there. But as most people read that agreement, it's not completely limiting to, but it points to, we only want single family housing in there.
Yeah, it's pretty poignant. It's like, you can have this, but you could have, but like you said, new neighborhood business and GB. Commercial, but you can't have, you'd have to rezone that again anyway
Yeah, which
to
is
get, yeah.
another question for
They'd
area.
still have the pond issue, they'd still have the stormwater management
Mhm.
issue.
And then they're gonna pay a heck of a lot more for water and sewer.
And because of the number of units.
Yeah, and with less money coming in from TIF, from residential than commercial, that's the biggest
Mhm.
hit to the town or an additional. So I guess we always find ourselves at this point where it's like, what
What can we do?
I mean, it's obvious that between us and Eric and you, we're all talking about this forward progress, but it's always stops. But what can, I mean, it sounds like town council, even us, are all about, hey, let's get this going, but what's gonna really get teeth into removing the covenants?
We have to,
Yeah,
Well, it's a teeter totter. It sounds in a good way. Town hall would strongly consider this corner with the town hall and a park. Then, of course, but at what cost? But we've passed just the one hurdle that this could work. Now it's down to economics.
Yeah, I think somehow we need to, I know you're saying there's a lot of complications among all the involved, but if we could try to start talking about that.
Well, shall I ask them? If you priced it, what would that price be? And have you? In Eric's their council, have you considered other accounting or estate or the D word donation? Is there any, what's the lowest price?
Tax advantage.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
What are the tax advantage, have you explored all the tax advantages to make a switch or trade or a discount in the price or the D word donation?
but it does benefit them with that restriction gone, because the amount of money they'll receive in return for the rest of it would increase.
Well, thank you for, shall I say, endorsing that idea. I have trouble getting over the hump with them realizing that if we get some of these issues resolved, everything is worth a little bit more money, and the timetable to sell any of it is really enhanced by this concept of town hall being out there and progressing toward a drainage plan, some other steps in the right direction, so they can benefit intangibly and economically by considering participating in the arrangement. Is that a way to get around the D
Well,
word?
and
Well,
here's another.
and another option is that the town lease the land for a significant period in time that other property sells. And then the donation creates a substantial tax advantage
Creative concept.
because they could write the number and the town approve.
Interesting concept. Good. Open up ideas, we all benefit from trying to figure out how to work this through.
Yeah.
The other
Land
concern,
lease.
the other concern I have is the potential of the Tecumseh group growing in more decision makers by the year.
Good point.
Something needs to happen in the next 6 to 8 months. Or somebody's gonna meet them on the other side of the road.
Yeah, that's true. But I've also said, the other side of 43 is, for a lot of reasons, hasn't fully developed yet. Again, people see these blank spots on a map. So what is going on?
Yeah.
And you make a good point about some of the uses that could go on either side. Whoever gets there first with a program that fits, and these guys in some ways are a little behind the other side of the road. Doing timing. That the other thing is a practical matter that this side of the road, until we get a traffic signal in there, which is another question that had, goes to return to I-65. You have to turn left out of this site to go back, and that's a big, I've been told directly, until you get a signal there, we don't like that.
That'll be. by the end of the year.
I get the monthly transportation report and I still don't see it popping up.
The guy in McCoy, they're still,
I mean, I don't see anything where they're, even
Oh.
exploring yet.
Okay, perhaps I should have said this earlier. I've had,
That's all done.
It's.
It will come up on those kinds of reports. because-
Well, on the transportation report, it shows every project that's going on in the county, state, federal,
Oh,
city.
okay. So
yeah,
you mean
whatever.
let projects.
and then
that
it's,
have-
and it shows the monies, it's,
But it's not their project, it's done by Quick Trips.
Yeah.
Quick Trips is paying for it.
but the state is still, well, they're totally paying for that light?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then you're right. But I still think it would show up on the, because I mean, they show the various stages of development. You
Yeah,
know, I mean, they show engineering, the pre-engineering,
Yeah.
they show, you know, the
Okay,
environmental, they show all that stuff on
I'll,
that list.
I'll work the backside and find out who at Quick Trip would know.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta think it's going. I mean,
well, there
Cause
was
you're not gonna get an occupancy permit without the signalization being there.
Tyler Evans is their real estate manager.
Thank you. Because I do hear, before we get into the complications, here occasionally, when someone, when I say there's a signal coming, they say, well, until you know when it's coming, this site with the complications is not gonna pass approval at some site committee decision makers because you can't get out of there.
I have a question about the developers, when they look at that 52 acres and realize they're gonna have to put some roads in.
Mhm.
What does it help them to have in hand to consider that? Because one of the things I asked Butler Fairman for was kind of went off script with that, but I figured we'd have to know how much and where the road would have to be to accommodate the new sewer line that's going in there. And so that we could get that from Butler Fairman to help out anybody's ideas of where the, you know, how can we divide this for our purposes, because the road has to be here because of, that's where the sewer line is.
Yeah, cause we shot that in and
Yeah.
that's why I kind of put the road where I did, because it could be. I mean, with a force main, you could adjust it and pivot it.
But does that help you show developers what they've got to work with?
Yes, well beyond my expertise and knowledge, but if there is a footprint or a map that shows where roads have to go or can't go, that would help a planner. That may be step 2 after we get someone fully interested in it. But it could make a difference in what is the largest building they could put somewhere on the site when it's a no, because that's where some infrastructure is going. So, yeah, yes, it would be helpful if we had an outline of where certain things have to go.
I can tell you one thing, the two ponds are roughly in the right location.
Mhm.
The road going east could be accommodating to water and sewer, because right now it kind of squiggles across there at a interesting angle. But I think the rest of it's blank slate. I mean, you get rid of all those
Okay.
roads I show and all the buildings. You can pretty much, you know, have a bunch of little pieces or have one big
Okay.
piece.
Good, because I hate to get deep into it with someone and then find out, well, you can't do that because the underground infrastructure can't be under a building or.
And stormwater, I mean, it does definitely, there's portions of lower land over there on the south side, and there could be a pond down there to take on some of the.
yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking, that if you had to, you could definitely put more of the
Split, you could split it in half.
tonnage over there and
No,
have
exactly.
have it along the woods, which could be a nice area.
Yeah.
Another park type.
At least a
In fact-
walk area
In
around
fact,
it or something.
one of the developers that was in on this early on before we discovered the agreement with Oil Ridge showed the southern area by the woods with a little pond and he didn't do the full drainage program, but he showed it as a parkland area.
Well, there's money coming in for parks, you know, Stan Lambert, number, I mean, you can. Talked about many, like, we did some stuff with Williamsport, did the Williamsport Trail over there. Topo that whole monstrous thing. They're starting to build some of those trails, so. But it's, yeah, it starts with what is the next step?
Gonna make the falls run 365.
No, not this one, but it was an interesting project. We did 3D scans on the whole thing, had like 500, maybe it was 500 million shots.
Whoa.
And it was a 3-dimensional, and you could just fly through it. You could take it and you could just swap around. You could see the waterfall coming down. It's pretty cool.
Which waterfall are you speaking of?
Williamsport.
Oh, really?
Falls.
Kickapoo Falls.
That's the
No, it's
highest,
Williamsport
highest
Falls.
waterfall in Indiana, if you can get there when there's any water in the spring.
Interesting.
Because there's like a bridge trestle, and when you do the scan, it gives you all the point clouds, and
Right.
you could, and so they were designing trails, and with a scanner, you could pick any tree that it sees, and it'll give you the circumference, the height, and the range, and the drip edge.
Wow.
You just pick on it, and it gives you these 3 rings. So we spent about a week there scanning it a few years ago.
Mixed up down there, in Boy Scouts, and went to Kickapoo Falls, Portland Orange.
For a very
William.
beautiful.
You know, I get them confused.
So I guess the thing is, because in our last meeting, I felt I'm getting to the point to where I can be helpful, but there needs to be some people that can spend money or authorize money, talking to people who want to sell
Right.
for it. Because it's, that's really what it comes down to, because if there's such a big difference between what they're willing to do, then we're back to what can go, you're still gonna have to provide some restrictions that soften the blow, because the neighbor, if I was the neighbor, I'd be like, well, if I'm not gonna get something that's gonna soften it, then I just do nothing.
And it's easy to say no.
To say, yeah, that's the thing. That's why this was a nice, because it's easy to say nice to a park, town hall, and paths. It's hard to say no to that sometimes, so. Right.
Mhm.
So
Rather than,
so what is the next step, so that we're not 6-8 months down the road and?
First step is consider a lease for the park immediately.
and it all, has the ownership group considered all the tax ramifications of any alternative beyond full price?
Right.
Okay.
Including
Including leasing the land. Well, many alternatives, but including
my personal objective is to get the park there no matter what. Then town hall second. But park takes away the covenants. It creates something to have something there. And it gets things moving.
And it could give them a tax advantage.
good. Okay. Good points. I like our progress. Like putting some of it back on ownership to help us all get creative, because simply said, but we all benefit from this moving along and getting to the point where they can sell it, and possibly a nice arrangement for town hall and a park, and Whale Ridge happy too. So, good.
I'd like to request that we start conversations with the park in relationship and the pond in relationship to Quail Ridge and get them to sign off on it.
I'd like that too, but unless we know what we can deliver. Quail Ridge, and I would too, would be say, oh, show me this is rock solid, what's going here.
Right.
So this is always the delicate balance. I'd like to say, hey, would you go for this? Before we have the full agreement on all of this, whether it's town hall and the park, will this work? And then they say, if they say yes, but you end up not delivering or tweaking it, then you get into a fight. So the real balance in the art in this is getting to a point where we can deliver and getting them to agree to it, but it works for everybody. Because you need print on the paper, and Eric talked about, we don't need to legal this and say, here's what we're doing again. Pretty pictures backed up by the legality of it. Work. Pretty pictures work when they're real. So the dynamics, as I understand it again, are talk to the ownership about this corner, not necessarily exactly, but around 5 acres. And their accounting and legal staff considering that. And I'll add again that I don't think they understand, maybe all of them do not understand, in my opinion, that participating in this financially at some discount or lease or some other program benefits their sale price on the rest of it. I'm not sure they understand that the balance of the land could be worth more money if we had this in place, and it also takes care of the oil rich complication. I tend to repeat myself, but I'm not sure they understand that. Instead of a flat no, we're not donating that. But they've considered the bigger picture of what we all seem to have some agreement here that we need to look at it, take a step. They need to take a step back and look at a bigger picture. Is that okay? All right. You have any questions for me? I know you have other business.
No,
That's it.
Thanks for your time.
That's what's important.
Got Greg. Georgia. Bill. Todd, thank you.
We're good.
Thank you. This sounds, I don't try to corny or goofy, but this is a team and we're all have similar goals to get somewhere, and we're looking for everybody to come out. That not just better, a lot better than the complications right now sit. So I'm there, not just because I'm compensated if we sell this, which I'm not compensated at all until we do. But for all of you, I
We're gonna
mean,
make your money on
sincerely,
this one.
I mean this sincerely, I'd like this to work out where Battleground, the community gets some shots, Battleground gets this, and the sellers end up satisfied and they can walk away. So might be overly optimistic, but I firmly believe that can happen. So, all right, thanks everybody.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question, is Travis
Yeah,
aware that he just had a,
yeah, I've emailed him. We're working on it. He's really busy right now.
Be interesting to see what he thinks. I mean, whether he could publicly say anything or not, it's all different.
Well, Travis was the second person I ever told this to, and we bought into it.
Well, it's, I don't know how he's keeping his, I mean,
yeah,
we've.
he's gonna earn whatever. It's
I mean,
sold.
it's the same discussion we've almost had since day one.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, unless they find a way to have a couple people that are gonna make the final decision,
You read my mind.
it may not.
You need to give one person, say, this person is gonna get it done. Because there's too many hands in the cookie jar.
I mean, most people understand it's like, you know, I don't want to donate or give up, but you're like, but with the restriction in place, it's gonna be devalued
Right.
really low. And you can, you know, so whatever this is,
You know,
you're gonna make it back up on that.
It'd almost be worth putting together multiple scenarios with that broken out in terms of values. Of what that would look like.
Yeah, I mean, I think they need to have that tax advice.
Right.
If they were, I mean, you know, you're gonna pay, if we sold it for what you wanted, this is how much,
Here's,
this is your tax.
So,
because there's a place here and there's here, what's the appraised value of this and this if nothing happens? Here's the dollars that you could possibly get for that. Here's a whatever kind of donation, tax advantage. And then the rest of this goes up to this. Well, now you have this and you say, see, you're gonna more than reap the benefits.
Well, and you can give on this if you're doing, you know, somewhat of some type of a donation or something that
Yeah,
offsets their taxes. I mean,
correct.
you're paying them one way or the other.
but that's why you need to lease it for 5 years. Because their capital change is when the rest of that sells, not, they don't have a benefit until that sale point.
Correct. Yeah. 100% agree. The current value to them right now is 0. It just, you gotta get it moving.
But somehow they've gotta, yeah, get whoever, all these other people to the phone.
Cause it. Steven seems like he's on board, Eric's on board, I'm kinda like there, and you're just like, but then the people.
Well, it's interesting. It sounded like the Quail Ridge was the big stumbling block in the past, but now it sounds like it's
It's the owners of the property.
Yeah. So the other good news, when the town council talked about would they support park fair, it was pretty unanimous.
Sure.
Way, well, yeah.
Well, that's
So
a,
the thing about that is that there's have a new committee called the Community Committee, and they really have some energy. And I have a feeling that this community committee would take over promotion of a park, and there's some, one of the police officers has an idea of some places to go for grants for parks and recreation activity, like the state Department of Health gave us that money to do the trails
oh, yeah,
plan. There are other groups out there in addition to them that would do grants to develop other kinds of recreational facilities. And so as soon as we have a commitment on the land, I have a feeling this committee will be all about finding those grants and getting some money developed to pay for things.
I think the good switch was you were like, well, let's just focus on the park first.
right.
Because you could put this park that buffers and it'll be there, and then whether town hall goes there or not is.
Right.
Yeah.
It's secondary.
that's secondary to the initial desire, which is,
Cause you could extend the park out a little bit, the pond could go a little bit further away, I mean, there's all sorts of freedom that they'll have with it, but. I've just been feeling lately, it's like, we're talking about this, but nothing's happening. And I thought maybe today there'd be a little bit more participation from the other side.
well, and they want a commitment of what's gonna, they don't wanna show the residents anything. But they can't get to a commitment until the residents sign off that their plan will be satisfactory.
Yeah.
So it's like a catch-22. I see where he's considering it, but it's a catch-22 because he's never gonna get to that agreement with a developer to say, this is what I'm gonna put there, if he doesn't have those signatures on the line of the town saying, yeah, we're gonna develop this park, and that's not in your, you don't have to worry about that anymore. That's not in your bucket.
Well, like you said, there was the agreement to have a park beside it and technically then you own it, you can. Then deal with the owners a bit easier.
When should we meet again? So you
Oh,
put that on that.
yes,
July or August?
August.
August sounds
Okay.
good, that'll be what, the 4th,
Be the third. That'd be the first Monday, is that?
you said August. August 3rd, the first Monday?
Yeah.
What have we got? Good, August 3rd.
Right? Why are you changing it off of your fourth Monday?
Is that when we were doing it, 4th Monday?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't say it. He said the 3rd, and I said 4th Monday,
Oh,
so the 24th, is that the first day of school?
no.
No.
Starts
It's
on
first day
the
of Purdue.
Yeah,
Oh,
that'll be my
yeah.
first day of Purdue, oh, that's gonna be miserable. for me.
That-
I have classes from 9:30 till 5:30.
meet in July.
No, August is, I'll do it.
Well, go back, the third's not a bad idea.
Well, can we do the 10th, split the difference? Cause
No,
once we get into
that's-
gold rush for me, that's the busiest 2 weeks of the year. for
Yes,
us.
I agree.
So,
That's
So
fine.
that's getting in August is better than doing July. I think pressing him to do something in the 4 weeks and getting back to you in July
can do
is
that.
not a bad plan.
Yeah.
alright, I can live with that.
So what day do you wanna do? July
27th.
Yep,
July
that
27th.
works.
And then that gets all of y'all out of the crunch, of the August crunch. Then you can skip August and come back and sit.
Thanks, George.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And that'll be at 6:00.
We're not going that time in September.
No.
Oh, boy, July 27th. I gotta change my appointment.
Oh,
I gotta change my appointment.
what's the 27th? Well, I can hear things.
No, that's true. Yeah,
I haven't done,
I should feel great after it's.
yeah, it ain't that bad. Jeez. Go see, ask her, ask them if they can do that, but that's them.
No,
So Todd, is is there drainage down? Is there a little creek that crosses over?
But no,
Right
there's
here
just some,
somewhere to that one little-
there's a little ravine that comes out that feeds water that about that behind that house that burned down. It
Yeah.
comes shooting out there, but you know,
So all of this water is going over
there is,
to the creek over here?
it has to be, cause it's all going to that right behind Bedrock. Oh, you're talking about, yeah, it has to be going into that side. Cause I know when I lived at, it runs on that side ditch and.
Well, Ron, we had a situation where the McDonald's, one of the people washed out one of their dumpsters. Actually, it was one of their fryer oil.
Oh, really? Oh,
They washed it out in the parking lot.
oh
Went
no.
down the drain and went into the creek right there by.
And you could see a big old.
Oh, yeah, it was a
Doesn't
mess.
take much oil
Well,
to make it look.
Fire department had to come over and we had to
Try to siphon it out.
wash it down and try to deal with it.
That
And
is-
it's- But so I know about. But I guess it's all, is everything draining over to that area? Has to be.
Yeah, I think there's a splitting point because in the front it goes to here, then back there, it does definitely fall down that area, but you can. There's all sorts of stuff you do. I mean, the water that you put in a pond comes out at such a lower rate than what it
Oh,
currently
yeah.
does, so it's,
Just infiltrates into the drain.
it does, so it's a. You control where it goes by all sorts of. So,
You got the meeting notes.
Thank you. You're awesome.
What's that?
Here's the deal. I've learned this early on. It's like, if I don't do it,
Oh.
now, it's just gonna get, you know.
so it's like I'm just here.
No, just boom, get it done, and that way it's completely touch it once, then you're done with it. So. That quick trip development, it seems like they've got that thing really close to the road. Like,
It
how are
is
you gonna
up there.
pull through that thing? Is it,
Maybe they'll loop around.
They have to go back around to the back. They aren't letting them come out right there at the.
Oh, that's right. They closed that road down. So they gotta go to the back and they'll loop
Yeah,
around.
because they choke off.
Interesting.
Yeah.
even then, if you got a car with a trailer behind it and trying to pull through one of the gas pumps, it just, the eyeball test from the road is like, wow, I was
Well,
like,
if you have a trailer.
That looks
you have to go
tight.
To the other.
the other pumps,
um,
gotcha, they were going.
Those are
back
just the
there.
residential,
They'll be
the-
directions.
Sure,
So they're different.
interesting.
well, they gotta be, I mean, they're gonna have to put the light in sometime.
They're gonna
because they
be
got,
like Bucky's, they're like oversized for
Right.
what you're used to seeing. You know.
but that wall, geez Louise.
Well, that's what's on the news right now in Indianapolis. Bucky's coming to
Oh, I saw
Greenwood.
Wow.
You can imagine.
Everybody's all. Well, the national news last week, I saw it 2 or 3 times where it was on last weekend talking about gourmet food. That's the new trend. It's crazy. That all these gas stations, that's their big draw. is
Gas
their
station food, gourmet.
Sounds like a great place to feast.
Yeah, my son's brought it up, like, oh, they've got really great food. I'm like, come on, it's gas station. How great can it be?
But that's what Cryptid. I mean, Nick
Right.
Woodruff's told us, that we're known for our barbecue and it's a big deal and.
Just ask my field crew, like we're doing wind
Oh, yeah.
farm staking tomorrow. And I'm like, is there a good place? And he's like, well, there's this truck stop. And then like, you know what? Their pizza's overpriced, but it's pretty good. And then you're just like, well, they do have chicken wing. And it's like, so you guys know where all the spots are. And they're like, yeah, it's pretty good. And it's like, never heard people say how good truck stop
Yeah.
food is.
We were driving out west and I saw a bunch of the quick trips. They're very nice.
Yeah.
Let's go put some pressure on the local places,
Yeah.
for sure.
Wow.
So,
Yeah. But hopefully it's kind of that Starbucks draw too, that it
Yeah.
helps to bring some other
No
business
question.
into the area.
Have you seen all the videos of the soccer fans coming in and losing their mind over
Yeah.
like buckets and
Everything.
everything else? It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Shit.
What was it? There was a friend of mine, he told me to watch this video. It's about the soccer people, and they were like, she's got jewelry on, she's got a purse, she's walking by herself down the street and she's not getting mud.
Right.
And that was their big thing, like, you would never wear all that jewelry and you'd never
Right.
walk by yourself. And it was like,
Funny.
so you just, you take for granted the perception, and then when people come here, it's not what they expected in a good way, it
Yeah.
seems like.
No doubt.
So, and my daughter went with two of her college friends from Ball State to Seattle last week. And they were out, they went everywhere, and they're like, I didn't realize that. Soccer wasn't my thing, my girls didn't play soccer. But they're playing all these soccer all over the country.
Yeah.
So there was, the United States plays in Seattle. So they just heard this huge crowd,
Yeah.
not really know, so I think they must be playing soccer. And I'm like, no, the Americans were playing that night or something.
It's wild.
It's been more people watch that than the NBA finals.
Thank goodness, because if I mean, I watched, I think 10 minutes of it, and it was like, I'd rather watch 4-year-olds play basketball than that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just not basketball,
Yeah.
and it's the officiating's terrible, the play is terrible.
9 shots out of 10.
Yeah,
It was a good basketball.
and it's not, and you're like, and they get paid how much to do this? Too much.
Lots and lots.
So,
It's gotten sloppy. They let them get away with.
there's double dribbles, they
Oh.
drive down the middle of the lane.
I mean,
Oh,
it's
stuff
fouls
like that.
everywhere. I mean, you can just, well, and I'm watching the women's the other night, Fever, and I was like,
How many games can you lose and score 100 points? Is my question.
Right.
but I hadn't watched NBA in a while. I mean, I was shocked how sloppy it.
Yeah.
At that, you thought, okay, I had not watched much, and I said, this is an NBA final. You're gonna watch crisp passing, and you're just like,
Nope.
it is garbage
It
basketball.
it's a lot of banging and getting away with stuff.
Everybody's playing with an injury, they shouldn't.
I didn't realize a pick was like is a push now, and it's not a foul.
Well,
But
Dusty May did us a favor today, though.
who is?
Dusty, the Michigan coach.
Oh yes, yeah.
He jumped to the NBA.
No, he didn't.
Dallas. Today. I couldn't believe it either. I'll bet Michigan's thrilled.
Brings you in 2 years. I mean, his first year was pretty good, and
It
then
was.
brings you that, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, he's going to bring in. Well, money talks.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is the days of staying anywhere for any period of time
Doesn't
are
happen.
long gone.
All right. Well,
Good to see
we have to
everybody.
officially convene, or are we good? We're done. All right.
He has the minutes done and sent